Joining me now in Tel Aviv is NBC's Hallie Jackson. So, Hallie, as we heard, the families of these American hostages seem satisfied with the American efforts to get the remaining hostages home. Yeah. What's the feeling like in Israel on that issue? And is there any indication of another temporary ceasefire to bring the remaining hostages home? Are the political conditions there?
Let me take the second piece of that question first. I think there is a desire, when you talk to hostage family members, of course, to see something happen. There's nothing concrete to point to, though, with perhaps one exception, and that is some of the travel that we're seeing now this week from Biden administration officials, specifically Jake Sullivan, Garrett, who is set to be here in Israel later in the week to talk with the prime minister, to talk with the Unity Wartime Cabinet now, maybe to try to put some pressure on to try to get these hostage negotiations restarted again. The potential for a temporary truce, because as you point out, as you have noted, the fighting has intensified with some of these places in Gaza just decimated here. What's so interesting to me being here, Garrett, is the way that many of these hostage family members that we're talking to are extremely engaged in what is happening back home where you are in Washington. Very attuned to the American political climate and some of the developments here, including, of course, President Biden's meeting that you talked about with some of those families of Americans who are still unaccounted for. I asked one woman here in Tel Aviv at a place called Hostage Square what her message to President Biden would be. Her sister Romy is believed to be held in Gaza. Here's what she told me.
It's my responsibility to take care of her life, her health, her well-being, and right now she's out of my reach. I don't have anything to do for her except from talking to you and other media and to say to him how much it's important to us what he's doing, how he's supporting Israel, how he's supporting the negotiation, the deal that was made last time, and for hopefully next deal that will be soon as possible.
And the posture militarily from Israel continues to be to hammer Gaza, to hammer Hamas until they are, in the words of Israeli officials here, until they are wiped out. We are seeing, for example, Prime Minister Netanyahu in just the last couple of hours, Garrett, the last few hours, go to a security assessment with some of the special forces, and he talked about how this is the path forward. This is the move that they have to make here. Obviously, that is creating a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, as you laid out, with the Hamas-run health ministry saying that more than 18,000 Gazans have been killed, and also saying that vaccines for children have run out. So critical, of course, because of these warnings from international aid organizations that disease is spreading here. You mentioned that living hell quote that's getting a lot of attention, but the UN Palestinian refugee chief also said civil order is breaking down. And he said this, Garrett, and I thought this was interesting. He asked one of his staffers, how do you cope? How do you cope with being at a shelter, seeing this in Gaza? And this person told him, I go to a corner and I find a place that I can go cry 10 times a day, essentially. Garrett?
Dark stuff. Hallie, you talked about the idea that Israelis are attuned to what's happening in Washington. How is the Biden criticism of the military campaign playing in Israel?
Well, it depends on who you talk to, because remember, and this is like backdrop, 30,000 foot, sort of a bit of pre-war context, if we could even call it that here. Remember what was happening in Israel, the sort of big international news before this war began. It was those, for example, massive protests on judicial reform against Prime Minister Netanyahu's push to change the judiciary, right? Those big demonstrations that we saw. So that sort of sentiment existed before the war. There's obviously been this incredible moment of unity in Israel, and I say incredible meaning extraordinary, meaning unusual here with this wartime cabinet created. But there is, I think, this sense, and I've talked to people for a story that you're going to see in just a couple of days, actually. I talked to one Israeli, just to give you an anecdote about this, who said, listen, I believe in peace. I believe in life. And that is something that I've heard again and again from some of these Israelis who say, I want my family member home. I want my country to be at peace. But I also want other people to be at peace as well. Everybody just wants to be able to send their kids to school. And this is basically a direct quote from some of the folks I'm talking to. People just want to be able to raise their families. Now, obviously, the Israeli government has a mission here. And that mission, as we've seen it executed militarily, is to wipe out Hamas. There's been this question, what happens next? What happens then? And that's a question that's just not going away, Garrett.
All right. Hallie Jackson, thank you for your reporting on this.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.